woke up this morning. We had a very large dusting of snow. I'd say about an inch over all the bodywork, but there was nothing on the ground. Sun is shining. I can't work this weather out at all. Even the skies are relatively clear, but you can see the speed of that wind, can't you, moving around up there. It's too windy to do any welding outside at the moment. But that made a racket when it fell over. So what am I going to do this week? Well, subject to the weather really. I'd like to get the floors finished. So floor pan is in, and the other floor pan is in. This is what I couldn't catch up to last week. I don't know if you can see that because I'm not actually in the vehicle. So what's left to do? Well, quite simple. I'm going to unbolt that wheel arch now. Well, not today, Monday. Over the weekend I'll get a load of paint together and we'll hand brush that all up, and then we'll put that mudguard on Monday morning, seal it in properly, and then we'll start that side. And that's kind of where we're at. I just wanted this side finished this week so I could move on to this side. What is actually left to do? Not a hell of a lot on that body, and the body is, that rear body has been a noisy process, unfortunately. Now I'm still half debating now whether I want to put wooden doors on this, and I'm half debating if I want to fill in with wood along the back there, because I really want to put army colours, but a modern fun army colour with the old Brit patch on the blinking bonnet. I really want to do that. Well, I say Brit patch, UK patch. That's England, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales. That's everybody on that bonnet, because I am proud of that flag. But that flag does upset people, but I ain't going into that, alright? I'm just not getting into politics. It ain't happening. So we've got the rear doors to finish, we've got the outer arches to do. This is after I've done that side, so there's no banging and heavy hammering. It's just a case of getting some metal cut in the shed and then folding it around. We've got 2 of them to do. I reckon that will take me all of a week to do the 2 wheel arches. First I've got to find some oh God's sake, some dowel. I need some dowel. That's very expensive at B&Q. I don't know if I want to do that, but Toolstation do thread, and I'm wondering whether to get some threaded rod instead, because what I want to do is weld to the underpiece and to the overpiece, so I've got one blob all the way around like what I've done here, and try and get it a little bit neater. So if I got a 6mm, I could go around that with 6mm and then put the metal in. If I can find a way of folding it, I might have to make a tool for that. So that's pretty much it. Once those are done, that's the rear body finished, and it can be oiled up and just left. We then got the rock sliders to build. Those 2 should take me about 4 days total, with the time spans I put into it, and they can be done in the shed, so I'm not going to interfere with no one on that. And then once those have been put on and bolted and welded, bloomin' scuttle, I have been putting that off and putting it off because it's major. When I say major, I don't mean major noise or major work. I mean a major headache, because I just don't know what direction to take this in. Once that scuttle has been done, we can put a battery tray in, we can wire up everything, and then we can start thinking about getting some paint on it and getting it out the front, because that's what this goal has been about, getting it out the front. Well, it's late at night and very dark. Oh, and it's raining. I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. I really hope this is the last one, because I am so fed up with doing these now. The very last wheel arch, because tomorrow, if the weather's good, we're going to get outside and we're going to get the other framework built, the inner framework I'm referring to, so we can get the inner wheel arch made up. But to do that, I need the other wheel arch. So there's the first one, first lay up, there's the first piece of chopped strand gone in. That is the last bit to go on. It's Monday morning and it's extremely windy. Well, we definitely can't weld in this wind. think we've established that already in previous episodes, but what we can do, I hope, is we might be able to get away with welding that inner in. Even that might be a little bit of a big ask. Anyway, we made up wheel arch yesterday, pulled it out late last night, but still in a bit of a jelly state. I managed to cock it up in places like there. So I rebuilt it. You know, I packed it out a bit more last night where it was damaged, laid in some resin where some of the cracking was. I think we're good to go actually. I think we're fine. Wind is a problem. I've cut that mudguard up now and I've taken off the outer edge ready as it matches this side, regardless it does match, even though it's not fitting properly, but that's something that will come later on when we welded the steel in. Now, that's the problem, this wind. I'm never going to weld it, no matter how hard I try, it's never going to weld. When that big breeze hits, it blows everything. In fact, just now, the wind hit so hard, the whole Land Rover rocked. That's never happened before. So, that's the one from the one I've already prepped. The other one is over here. I've had to fiberglass the tip a little bit, it's a bit thin, and I never resined up properly. So, yeah, that one's drying as we speak. And I've now laid out the metal work ready to cut 2 plates of everything. So we're going to literally measure now, write down on a bit of paper, so I just can come in here, cut until we've got every single plate cut ready, and then we can just get out there with a welder at some point. It might be today, it might be Wednesday, Thursday. At the moment it's Monday. Tomorrow I know for a fact we've got heavy rain coming according to the weather forecast. So I don't actually know how much of this I'm going to get done this week. Tell you that wind is really bad out there at the moment. Anyway, look, the quota of pieces of steel. I only got 2 of them. Did I need 2 of them? 5. Yeah, 2 for some reason. Yeah, the quota's been cut, so we are now ready to weld them on. But what we do have going on is we're drilling the holes. Well, I'm not. My boy's drilling all the holes out. And then we'll put the rivets in and then we can finally seal this roof up because it's leaking badly. Once that roof has been done, we'll then, at a later date, we'll grind that down. And we need to start thinking about the wheel arches and the rear doors and possibly the panel along there. There's 2 things I want to do, or 1 or 2 things I want to do. I still don't know if I'm going to go with the wood at the moment, because I think it's this whole build is tamed up. I wanted it really aggressive and it's gone really dad's army. That's the only way to describe it. I'm going to have to admit to myself that we're just not going to get this welding done today, because even though the wind has died down, those clouds don't look too clever, and every so often you get a big old heavy gust that sends this flying. On the positive side though, the riveting has been done, so it should be a little bit more watertight in here now. There is exactly 110, 11, I say exactly, it's hardly exactly if I don't know, but about 110 rivets holding that roof in place. Been working in between rainstorms. The wind has gone. I wouldn't have done this in the wind yesterday, no way. No way. I've done the neatest as I possibly can. See, the thing is, I'm using CO2 and it don't come up half as nice as what argon does. But the outer is done. And the inner is in. All I'm doing now is that plate, and I struggled to point the camera the last time because I couldn't see, for the sun was in my face. But that plate, I'm waiting for me cordless to charge up. I'm now about to, where is it? I've lost, there it is. I'm about to put a plate over the top of that, once that plate has been done, it's a case of scrape back all that paint on the tin at the back and lay the mudguard in over the top as best as possible. This time I'm going to do it differently to how I did that side, because I'm going to leave that steel plate till last this time, and I'm just going to clamp it on both ends and work out where the steel has got to go in along here, and then I'll weld both steels in, or at least the steel here, the framework, and once I've got that done, because we've hit a bit of a problem. Didn't have it on that side because the bodywork was a little bit better. I can't explain it, but if you look at the metal work here up that end, you'll see it flips up in the air a little bit. That's not good. Can't do anything about it. Something went wrong, and I think it's to do with the angle iron I've attached it to. So I don't know how this is going to work. This might come out really ugly. Okay, the first attempt I decided to put the mudguard like that with the tin because I wanted some side impact on the inside of the vehicle. You know, it's got an engine or something, but that ain't working out, as you can see. So I've now done it so it lays on top, and then I can bolt through, and that has come out a lot better. What I can do is, when I start the nuts and bolts part, we'll put a load of glue in there, sealant, paint it first obviously, and then we'll drill through, put some nuts and bolts in. The nuts themselves will weld to the actual steel, so as if I need to take this off, I haven't got a faff about with ratchets and all that lot. I can just, and I will cut the threads as well level with the nuts, and I can't use nylocks because I'm welding them in, and a nylock will melt, but there is a trick to that actually. It's just not worth the aggro, so that's how I'm going to do it, I'm afraid. So we're going to put a row along there, we're going to put a row along there, we'll snip off all the ends, weld the nuts to the steel. I could use my rivet, nut riveter, but those things are a bloody nuisance, if I'm honest. I'm not keen on them, but you can tack them, weld them on to the steel if need be. The welding has gone about as good as it would for me. The tip is worn out. In fact, the gun is now starting to play out. It's arcing out constantly now. I think I need a new gun. That'll be my 4th gun I've had for that since I got that machine. So yeah, it's gone about as well as one could expect. Okay, new day. And today we are going to weld that plate in. We are going to make the cross braces for that square piece there. We're going to unbolt that one, and we're going to paint everything up, hopefully get it all nice and dry, and paint everything up, and then once the paint is dry we'll lower the fiberglass over the top once and for all with sealants and bolt it all together. Okay, cross braces in, paint is on. I'm quite pleased with it. It's come out really good. I've even put a heavier brace in the middle that's fully removable. It's only resting in the little cups, and what I shall do there is put felt inside to stop it from rattling, and then that part there will be riveted to the underside of whatever I put in as a floor, because this area near here I need to be able to get it out so I can get access to the fuel tank at any point, usually through the top, which is a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? So we're all painted up now where I needed to be painted, because I'm open at the back, water's getting in there and it's just killing everything. And I don't want to spend hours and hours wire brushing rusty metal back. I did hit it with the wire brush, but not to a great level, so I'm happy enough with what I got going on here. It's going to need another coat at some point, but that'll get done another day. I will put the wheel arches in tomorrow, bolt them in properly, and then I shall probably get the... Actually no, I won't. After I've got those bolted in, we've then got to move on to other things, so I might upload the video of that stage being finished. Well, today we should have these inner wheel arches finished. We've just got to put the fiberglass parts in now. So we've got to drill a few holes, run some nuts and bolts, and as far as I'm concerned, this job's as good as it's going to be anyway. I have spent an absolute fortune over the last few years trying to keep the noise down by buying different types of tools, like a bandsaw instead of the chop saws, a plasma cutter instead of a grinder, just because it is a little quieter. I got a cordless grinder which has got a 1 amp hour battery, and I'm not keen on the grinder anyways, to be honest. So I've just gone out and bought myself another grinder, and this is what I got. Because I've already got the impact gun, it means I've got 2 batteries, which ain't going to get a lot of use because the thing is so heavy. Brilliant for the lorry, but that's about all it's good for at the moment. That's all I found it useful, although I will be taking it with me when I go off-roading because that will take wheels off and stuff like that. But anyway, cut long story short, I got this 8 amp hour battery, fits in that perfectly. It's the M18 symbol you need to keep an eye on if you want to share the batteries with these things. And quiet, isn't it? And then I found that speed controller. Yeah, you can kiss goodbye to that, can't you? So that ain't a lot more quieter than what the regular one is, but it's more convenient, so I've tried. So today's work is going to be the wheel arches, and then I shall upload the video, and then over the weekend I will take the 2 pieces of steel that I've got into the shed, and I will attempt to make 2 rock sliders. However, before I start that job, I do have one other thing I need to do out the front. There's the suspension spring on the car has snapped, so we've got a repair to do out the front, so I might film that on them. The bolts are all over the shop, but they're all on, they're sealed. I've just got to go around underneath now, seal up so that the water don't get up and in, and we are good to go. So there's your floor pan that I put in. Then we've got the arches. They're not great, but they work. You've got to remember that the body comes in at an angle, hence that being shorter there and wider up there, because it's wider there than it is here. So it's not a mistake. I don't want people thinking that. The central bar's got to go back in, which is over there, and this is what it looked like underneath. So we just got to go around all of that and put some sealant around it so water can't get behind and destroy all the hard work. So I'm quite chuffed. I ain't going to show you the other side because I can't be arsed. Friday morning. I was going to upload this video last night so it was ready for viewing for this morning, but I couldn't push myself. I said to the wife, I really do need to get the rest of this so it looks like it's completed, which it kind of is. So that being said, let me show you what I've done. There you go. So the fiberglass is now painted in Hammerite, for which I expect that will scrape off extremely easily. I am eventually going to put checker on top of each one, but I am not going to do much more than that. The checker plate on the floor has got to come back up again at a later date, because I need to add some angle iron there. But not only that, I need to put the fuel tank in. But I can say now that the floor and the bed wheel arches is completed. So far we've had the roof done, the walls done, the floors done, the arches done. I am extremely pleased with this. So next week, subject to weather, I'm going to try and get the rock sliders completed so as we can join the mud guards. We're going to try and get that panel fixed, and then we'll try and get in the wheel arches themselves, and then we'll drill some holes, put some polyurethane filler in there to stop water ingress and condensation, because we don't want them to rot out. And hopefully then we can move on to the next stage, whatever that is going to be. I reckon that's going to be the door, the bulkhead. I reckon we'll move on to that in a couple of weeks' time, get that area finished. So I need to find a windscreen wiper for the roof, and some hinges for the bonnet, some way of locking the bonnet. That need a two-piece lock on there. It needs a main lock and a catch lock by law, I believe. And after we've got that bit done, we can then concentrate on replacing the windscreen and getting the headlights mended, because the rest of this should be ready. Once we've got that done, we're going to get a fuel tank sourced, we'll get the engine running, we'll stick a hose pipe in the engine so we can feed water to it, and then we're going to move it up here, and hopefully the weather will be better. We can then start grinding back all that muck up there, and we can put some primer on it, and maybe even the top coat green, which would be great. And we are that much more closer to getting it out the front then. The electrics, the water system, that's all going to be addressed when it's out the front. Mud guards will get painted in the shed, they will be put on out the front. The wheels will then get changed over, and then I've got to power wash the chassis down, because that also needs a fresh coat of paint. That's been sitting here 4 years now, I reckon, and the first coat of paint I put on that is now starting to show rust, which has annoyed me a little bit, because I thought that was good quality paint. So we need to paint that all up, and I'm actually debating about bed liner on the chassis all over, just because that'll be a good thing to protect it. We need to readdress the exhaust system as well. I'm not happy about that. Oh, and the other thing I haven't figured out yet is the floor on the driver's side, because there is not enough room on the pedals. They're just too damn short, so I've got to cut the floor out in here. Hopefully I can drop it down enough. I think we can do it. I think the cross member is there, and it's in the middle there, so I think there's just about enough room, hopefully. The cross member isn't actually doing anything right up the front area. I could actually cut that cross member on that side down there. It would make no difference to the structure of the vehicle whatsoever. So, because that cross member was put in originally when we were building it into a rat rod with a different chassis, and now it's not needed. So that could potentially be cut out with a plasma cutter as well, but we'll see where we go. The pedals are too short. They are ridiculous. I struggled to move it from the top of the garden to here with those pedals, and we've also got to fix the clutch. It's another thing that needs dealing with. So there you go. So that is the process of progress this week, and it has been a good week. I've had no problems from people, and I've just been able to get on with it. So I'm pretty happy with that. I don't know who put, because that piece of aluminium checker plate was used as a ramp, so I don't know who made the concrete. It was covered in concrete underneath, and it was a damn good mix, because I struggled to get that off, but I managed to get it off. So when we put the fuel tank in, we're going to run a row of screws, self-tappers, along there and along there, but we'll run some rivets along here and there and all the way up there, and that should be sufficient. And we'll put loads of sealant underneath. I've got some grinding to do in that corner, but we'll run some sealant down, and we don't need to do any more after that. And then we've just got to clean up that area over there. We've got to scrape up all that foam I put down, because there is a few things there that I'm not happy with that could do with welding, but again, that's for later on. It's not an issue at this point. Got a fair old bit of space in there, nearly what, 6.5 foot I reckon, easy, by what, 5 foot wide, 5.5 foot wide, 5 foot ish. Height wise it's not too bad. I'd love to convert this over to some sort of campy type vehicle, you know, a bed on the side here that flips down. The doors, I could have the cooker on one door, the sink on the other door, I could put a couple of cupboards in that side. The only thing I'm a bit concerned about is a portable toilet. If I was to roll this thing, that toilet I will suddenly regret putting one in. So I'm having a bit of a debate on that one, whether that's a good idea or not. But when I go off-roading, there's going to be times when I'm going to be camping, and if I go that far into it, so it'd be nice to be able to lay in the back and just use it as a little camper van. But we'll see where we end up. Let's just get it on the road first. That's another plan for another day. So yeah, next week tune in, because we're going to get the rock sliders made and welded on, and we'll get the rest of these wheel arches done. I don't know how far I'll be able to go with it, because the weather, as you can see, is not that great at the moment. But we'll see what happens. So with that being said, I would like to say thank you very much for your subscription, your time to watch, your likes and your comments, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.